me just share the screen again. Yeah, so I'd love to welcome you to How to Ditch Mom Guilt. It's really something that, as I've been sharing on it, I've spoken it on the radio about 2-3 times. I've noticed that it's something that as moms, I think we all actually struggle with it. So I'm really excited to be able to share with you today. And I want to thank you for giving me the gift of your time. I know time is precious, and I don't take it for granted that you are giving me some of your time to hear what I have to say. I love to empower moms to raise and release world changers. And one of the ways that I know that we can do it is by learning to ditch the guilt that a lot of us moms believe and we subscribe to without even realizing it. So as I've chatted through with moms across the world over, and as I said, even on air, I had the interview for about 40 minutes on how to ditch mom guilt. And the radio presenter was actually telling me how much it affects so many of the moms. So I know it's something that's very, very relevant. But for those of you who don't know me, I thought, let me just tell you a little bit about who I am so that you could see just some of who is Mandi Hart. Some of you do know me, but others might not know me. So I've been involved with parents and families working in this space for probably about 20 years, mostly because I'm a mom too. So I'm a mom to 2 teenagers. I've traveled to, I don't know, I haven't counted, but probably over 30 countries. And I've worked with families across the world over. So just here, some snapshots of my life just recently. So I run parenting courses that hopefully bring about a transformation in families' lives. And sorry, I'm just going to admit someone while I'm busy talking to you here. Okay, so welcome, Christine. So this is a picture of me with Rui. As I did a coaching session with her, I've run some online parenting classes. This is a picture here of me on CCFM with Vicky. I worked with her for a while. I did a book launch recently in Port Elizabeth called Courage in the Fire. It's a part of my story on overcoming fear and how to deal with fear. This was one of my most favorite trips, was when I went to Jordan, and with some friends, I blocked out the lady's photo because she asked not to be in any photos. But I ran parenting workshops with Syrian refugees and some Bedouin women, and it was really incredible for me to realize how, as moms across the world over, we just want to see our children released and want to raise them well. And this is a pic of me last year in Ghana, in West Africa. This lady in the crutches is actually an Olympic ping pong player. She does it in a wheelchair. And there I ran sessions on women in leadership, parenting. So I've spoken on this space, in this area for many years. Oh, and the top is my picture recently when I launched Parenting World Changers. So that's a book that's recently come up. But in terms of ditching mom guilt, I've battled with it over the years. I can remember when my children were really young and my son was born and I struggled to feed him and breastfeed him. I came under so much guilt that it wasn't working out. And I had this incredible pressure that I had to do things a certain way. Over the years, I felt guilt that sometimes my kids were eating cereal for supper. I don't know if any of you can relate. Just sometimes you just don't get around to feeding them the food that you want to feed them. And over the years, as we led a missions organization as well, and we traveled, I kept thinking, am I going to mess my children up? And that's one of the key words that a lot of moms use, is I don't want to mess my children up. I don't know if you've heard that or if you've seen it, but by the end of the webinar, what you're going to come away with is you're going to recognize mom guilt and its patterns in your life. You're going to know what to do when you recognize, this is what I'm feeling. And I'll also give you some tips on how to practically deal with it. So you can walk totally free. You can parent with greater clarity, less stress, and more joy. So there's no better time now than to ditch mom guilt, moms. I can see all of you are on this because I think we can all relate to one another. And I think that your future self will thank you for it. Your parent, your husband, unless you're a single mom, your children, your friends, your family will actually thank you for it when you walk in greater freedom. I think it's something that we can all work through together. So I'm going to go through 5 tips on how to let go of mom guilt. And one mom who was on this one previously, she said to me, this webinar was so, so helpful because I really wish I could have known these steps when my son was 3 years old, or in the first 3 years of having my son. I struggled with postnatal depression and felt guilty and inadequate all the time. And I think that's what I'm hoping to do, is to shed light on this for you so that you don't have to feel guilty, you don't have to feel inadequate. So what is mom guilt? Mom guilt is, I'm just going to actually stop sharing for a sec here. So mom guilt is actually just simply not feeling that you're doing enough as a parent. You don't feel as if you are doing things the right way. You worried that the decisions you make might mess your children up. So a mom's guilt is simply just not enough. I used that phrase earlier, that you don't want to make decisions that will mess your children up. And that's the root of mom guilt. It starts to feed these thoughts and these lies in our heads that, oh, you're not feeding your children the right kind of food. Yesterday, I was on a Zoom call with a lady in Singapore, and I'm speaking at an online event in Asia. And we were talking around this mom guilt, and she said, many Asians really, really struggle with FOMO, fear of missing out. And I thought, not just Asians, I think all of us actually. And the thing that she said was that many of the Asian parents are signing their children up for all of these self-help, self-enrichment, educational webinars because they're so afraid that their kids are going to be messed up if they don't sign them up. But they're not even interested in what their children are happy about. It's just they've got to be in all these courses, and the kids are tired, their kids are stressed, but it's based out of feeling guilty that even if I can't afford it, I need to sign my kids up onto all these programs because they're going to miss out. And that's what mom guilt does, is it makes us feel like, oh, my kids are going to be harmed because I'm not doing this, or haven't signed them up for this, or I haven't bought them this thing. So it stems from us believing lies, stems from past experiences. It stems from personal insecurities, from pressure from family or friends, from schools, from social media. One mom that I've worked with recently, she says she's taken all the social media apps off her phone and she's signed out of all of them because her child wasn't hitting the milestones according to what society said that this child should reach them at. And her friends were posting all these pics. At 6 months, my kid does A, B, C, D. At 1 year, my child does this, and her child wasn't. And so she was feeling so guilty that she was doing something wrong, and she didn't know how to handle it. So she just went off all this social media. And I think that's what guilt does. It keeps on making you think, oh, I'm just not doing enough. So as moms, we would do well to think, how have I been brought up? How have I been raised? What are the things that make me feel guilty? And how am I going to handle it? One of the things that a lot of us come under pressure from is the schools. What school should I put my child in? And what pressure is society putting us on? So getting back to these 5 tips that I want to share with you today. And this is some of the nitty gritty. And then I'm going to give you 4 tools on how to handle it all. Is don't let anyone should on you. So so you've read it right. And it's not, I'm not swearing. It's should, S-H-O-U-L-D. One of the radio presenters the other day said to me, Mandi, did you just swear on air? I said to him, no, it should. Don't let anyone should on you. So, think about it in terms of your life. How many times have people said to you, you should do this, you should go here, you should be baking homemade food for your, cookies or bread, or you should be doing this. And what it does is it simply builds discontent, comparison, and puts unrealistic pressure on you. The first time someone said this to me was an older lady. I was in Switzerland at a conference a couple of years back, and I was speaking to her about things. And she said those beautiful words to me, those lovely 6 freeing words. Mandi, she said, don't let anyone should on you. And I thought, it actually helps me breathe. So think about your life right now. Where have you heard people say you should do this? And start to let that fall off your shoulders. The second tip I want to give you is different is just different. Sometimes different is bad, and we so often want our children to be in all these classes and go through all these things. But a great life lesson that we need to learn is that my family is my specific family. We have a specific family culture. My values might be different from someone else's. But what my family does, and I'm speaking obviously in a healthy context, isn't bad. It's just different from your family, and that's okay. And when we teach our children that sometimes different is just different, it can bring you a lot of freedom. Because if you realize, oh, my children are, for example, in a sporty school or with a very sporty family, but my child is very artistic or musical, it's just different. It's not bad. It's just different. And that brings you a lot of freedom, because ultimately, as we raise our children with intentionality and on purpose, we want to help them uncover the gifts and talents that are inside of their lives and how God made them. Then when we release them, they're different from us. They're going to like different things to what you like, and that's okay. And the third tip I want to give to you, and I'm actually going to be sending you a free PDF for being on this webinar, is to give yourself permission. So in Raising Secure, Confident Kids, this parenting course that I'll speak about a little later, but I train parents how to give themselves permission to take care of themselves as well. Because when you take care of yourself, you're actually taking care of your kids. Now you might think, well, man, that doesn't really make sense. But when we care for ourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, when we deal with the pain from our past, when we deal with the things in our lives, and we get to a place where we are healthy and thriving, then we will reproduce that in our kids. I really believe that. And now I'm not saying we need to be perfect. The second permission is give yourself permission to not be perfect. We all make mistakes. And so 3 and 4 are kind of linked, because when we give ourselves permission to not be perfect, we realize, okay, well, I'm going to make mistakes. When I do that, I can go make things right. I can go apologize to my kids for shouting at them. I can ask for forgiveness when I've hurt someone. But I realize I'm not perfect, and your children aren't perfect. And so that's okay to do that. One mom said to me, Mans, I want to feel better about myself as a mom. I'm tired of feeling guilty about needing some me time. And that's where we believe that lie. Like, we can't take time out for me time. Sometimes we do it, but sometimes we don't. And so when you need to have a hairdressing appointment, or when you need to go see some girlfriends or do something fun, don't feel guilty. And so often as moms, we put ourselves last on the list. Some of us don't even put ourselves on the list. And so please take care of yourself, because when you take care of yourself, you have increased capacity, you have increased margin in your life, and you will live with greater joy, with less stress, and you also will just be smiling more. And I think this world definitely needs us to be smiling more. The fifth tip that I want to get into, and then I'm going to just pause and ask for some questions, is to try my 4 steps ditch mom guilt method. But before I get into that, I'm actually just going to stop sharing my screen. I would just love to pause and say, what stands out to you right now out of the 4 tips that I've shared? And what is something that you think you could implement going away from here? And what I learned recently was, when we want to introduce new habits in our lives, it really takes quite a while. It takes a couple of weeks. It takes about 60 odd days. Strava, incidentally, did some research with over 8,000 people that registered with New Year's resolutions. And do you know what day they stopped fulfilling their New Year's resolution? Do any of you know? Day 18. And they call that Quitter's Day. So only 18 days after the 1st of January, when people put in their New Year's resolutions on Strava, that they quit. And so it's so easy for you to come away from these 30 minutes and say, oh, okay, that was fun, that was interesting. But when you don't actually implement some changes, nothing's going to change. I just have one mom said, don't let anyone shoot on me. Love it. Yeah, I absolutely love it as well. What else stands out to any of you? You're welcome to put in the comments, or just unmute yourself. Giving myself permission. That's good. So let me speak very transparently. So last night I just wasn't feeling 100%, and I thought, I've got to do all this other house stuff and sort all these things out. So I just said to my husband, look, I'm actually going to go to bed early. So I climbed into bed. I read for a little bit, and I just went to bed early. I took some time for myself and just realized that's what I needed without the guilt, because I've been speaking on it. And I think as moms, we need to give ourselves permission. Michelle Pringle said, it's really okay to take time for myself. Yeah, totally. I agree. So my next question, and Michelle, if I may use you as an example, is what kind of time for yourself would you take? Could it be making yourself a cup of tea and going to sit outside or in your own space or see someone? But, we need to actually practically try some of these things.
Yeah, Mandy, I think, like I say, it's really just to start off by just taking 10 minutes, make a cup of tea, and go and sit out. And then also just from a health point of perspective, you're always next to the sport fields and you're there for the kids, but actually take time for yourself to go to the gym or go for a walk for half an hour is really that basic stuff that I actually lost over all these years. And you actually think it's normal to do, but you don't make that time for yourself. So yeah.
Thank you, Michelle. I agree totally. One tip that I can give you as well in practicing taking time for yourself is learning to be fully present. So one of the tips is you make yourself a cup of tea or hot chocolate or coffee or whatever it is you enjoy drinking, or water or whatever, and you actually hold it with both hands like this. And you just savor that moment. Instead of rushing, drinking it on the fly and doing, but just practicing, just being fully present, feeling the warmth of the cup. Smelling it is, I enjoy vanilla chai tea, and to me it's like Christmas in a cup. Every time I smell it, I'm like, oh, it's Christmas in a cup. And so, it's those little moments. And Michelle, as you were saying, if you're on the side of the sports field with your kids, one mom I know walks around the sports fields. Now, I have never quite got there with my kids. I used to always feel like, oh, but if you can do that, go for it. Walk around the sports fields or find ways that you could take time to do it more often. Is it Roshni? Is that your first name? I'm not sure. But says, I make a point of taking time for myself and need to do it more often. I think that's a common thing. All of the moms that I've chatted to said we need to take time for ourselves and do it more often. So let's get into some practical nitty-gritty tips. And as you are thinking through what I'm sharing, I would love for you to actually even make notes as it comes up. So we're going to talk through these 4 steps that I'd love to share with you. So the first step, and that's my tip number 5, is use Mandi's ditch the guilt method. So sorry, I just see someone else said in the chat, yes, make time for myself. Absolutely, I agree. So the 4 steps: write down everything you feel guilty about. And now here, what I would advise you to do is make that cup of vanilla chai tea or coffee or hot chocolate something that you really love, and go sit down with a pen and paper and write down, what do I feel guilty about? Now, what you might feel guilty about as a mom is different from mine. So do I feel guilty about the fact that I haven't prepared lunch for my kids, or I haven't got everything all together? I'm not one of the moms that when we go on a picnic, I have everything together. And every time I go on a picnic, I always say to my husband or friends, one day when I grow up, I'm going to remember all the things I need for a picnic, because I always forget stuff. And then I feel guilty about it. I'm like, oh, Mandi, you've been a mom for collectively 38 years, but I mean, my eldest is 20 or turning 20 next week. And so I should have it together, but I don't. You see, it's that should, ditching mom guilt. So, whatever it is you feel guilty about, write it down. And then look and ask and say, should I feel guilty about this? So let's use my picnic example where I'm pretty dismal about having it all together. Should I feel guilty? No. So what could I do to change it? Well, next time, maybe get my kids more involved, actually plan it a little bit better. The action step is I'm just going to say, well, I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm just going to enjoy being in the moment. And if I need to buy pizzas for a picnic next time, rather than have all the perfect basket with all the things together, so be it. It's the memory and being present that makes a difference. So these 4 steps are so wonderful that you could, if the first time you do it, I would advise you to sit down and write it down. Should I feel guilty about this? What can I do to change it? What's my first step? But after a while, once you know this rhythm, then when you, let's say, out and about with your kids, or you start to feel this mom guilt, these myths, these lies, like you must have it together, you must be perfect, you you're going to make your children mess up your kids if you make this decision. If you say no to something, your kids are going to miss out and not make the sporting team. If you're going to say yes to this, then you're going to struggle, or your children will struggle, or whatever it is. If you put boundaries in, your children are going to want to break relationship with you. You know, all these lies, and then you start to feel guilty about being more strict or more lenient or whatever it is. Then work through these 4 steps and see how it will help you. Because when guilt and fear work hand in hand, it isolates you and you start to become more inconsistent. You become more reactive and not responsive in your parenting. And when you let guilt go, you will find fear will also start to diminish. So, you know, we've gone through quite a few things here. Let's just see. We have Anthea is about to join us at the end. So when we go through these 4 steps, then it really is a key to freedom. And I want to leave you with that. I want to empower you with that. So we have 4 minutes or so left. At this point, I'd like to just take 1 or 2 minutes for some some questions, and then I'd love to present just 1 or 2 invitations to you as well. So I'd like to open the floor. Are there any questions? You can put it in the chat box, or you could unmute yourself. Hey, you ladies are quiet. Okay, so no questions. Hey, are you all good to ditch mom guilt and get rid of it, right? Yes? Give me a thumbs up or put a emoji in the chat box. Yes? Olivia, we've got you. Yes. Anyone else? Any questions? Not? Okay, now I know I've whisked through this, but I said I would honor your time for 30 minutes. And so I just want to recap. So we've spoken about some of the lies that we believe about being perfect, about having to have it all together, about worrying that we're going to mess our kids up. We've chatted through some of the tips, not letting anyone shoot on us, taking care of ourselves, letting go of the guilt, using these 4 steps that I've shared to ditch it. One mom said, oh, Judy says, I need to drop out. No problem. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so these are the different techniques. So the one thing then I'd love to share with you and invite you into 3 invitations. You can use what I've shown, apply it to your life and make changes, and it will really change your life. On my parenting course, Parenting, Raising Secure, Confident Kids, I teach moms how to have a table of advisors. And around this table of advisors, we have allies and cheerleaders and champions, and we have counselors, we have advocates, people supporting us. And I work through in different ways. People to hold us accountable. What I found is that when we start to go on this parenting journey, then things start to open up. But sometimes we need more support. So the option 2 that I'd love to invite you into is to book a free, no obligation call to talk to me about your family. And if it works out that we can start a journey together, whether it's coaching, whether it's parenting course, whether it's nothing, that's also fine. I really want to serve you and empower you. So here, what you would do then is you would go to mandyhart.net for events, and you'll get to this page. You'll see actually the thing for the course, and then you'll go down and you'll book a call with me, and you'll come up to a Calendly link where, based on your time slot, you can book a free chat with me, and we'll do a Zoom call or a WhatsApp call, whatever works for you. But I'd love to chat to you about your family. You know, my heart really is to empower moms to be a catalyst in their lives. The third option, and this is just for today, I'm only doing it for this webinar as an offer. I'm running a parenting course called Raising Secure, Confident Kids. And just for today, I'm doing Ditch Guilt, a special discount. So you get 1,750 Rand off the course. The course is priced at 3,000. And what I also want to do then is send you Courage in the Fire. It's my story of overcoming an armed robbery, how I've dealt with fear in my life and how I've overcame it. So if you'd like to sign up to the course, the next course starts either this coming Tuesday or the 22nd of October. You're welcome to let me know, Mans, I want to be part of it. If you want to join the October one and you want to have time to save up, then let me know, and then I can just keep this price for you, the 1250. And I'll give you the coupon code Ditch Guilt. So what you would do if you wanted it, you would go to my website, click on the online shop page, and then go and type in the coupon code Ditch Guilt. And what it would do then is it would reduce the price, update the cart. Okay, I didn't put in the next one, but it would reduce the price to 1250. But more than that, my heart is for you to raise and release children, to live free from mom guilt. And so I want to thank you for taking time to listen to me today. Keep your eye open on your inbox. I'm going to send you a free PDF. So I've written down the names of those who've joined us. And if you don't receive it, please, please, please let me know. And just say, hey, Mans, you missed me. So I hope, I'll just search for your email addresses and send you the free permissions PDF that you could download, and encourage you to walk free from mom guilt. So thank you so much, everyone, for taking time. And I really hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. I'm going to stop the meeting now, but if any of you wanted to join me for some questions afterwards, please feel free to do so. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.